Alright, I want you to look at the very last page of the booklet that I gave you the other day. It says graphing lines on the top. You've got 6 questions. Your first one is the one I'm going to use as the example. This is a linear relation, so it says y equals 7 over 2 times x minus 2. And we're going to solve for y using a table of values. The table of values are just like the ones that you saw on page 3 of this booklet. And they always gave you a bunch of numbers. So I'm going to give you a table of values that you're going to use for every single one of these linear relations. So your table of values looks like this. X and Y, make your t-chart, and you're going to be using these ones for every single one. -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And I picked these particular ones because they're going to fit on our graph, just for space sake. So now this is where our substitution skills are going to come in, but we got to do a little bit of a change first. So if you take a look at your linear relation that we've got right here, where we've got the 7 over 2, for some of you when you see fractions, all of a sudden you guys freak out and figure, that's it, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not doing this anymore. Let's try to make this not so scary. So we're going to take this 7 over 2 and we're going to convert it into a decimal. And all you do is take your calculator and 7 divided by 2 in order to find out what that decimal number is going to be. So now, this is what we're going to be working with. Not so scary linear equation. So now we've got y equals 3.5 times 2 times x, minus 2. So we're going to take the information that we have in our table of values, our -2, we're using our first table of value, our first x value, and we're going to slot it in where this x is right here. We're just doing a substitution. So this is what it's going to look like. So y equals 3.5 times -2 minus 2. And now you can use your calculator in order to solve this. And you can punch it in just like you see it. 3.2, open bracket, -2, close bracket, minus 2 equals, in order to get your answer. And you should come up with the answer of -9. So we're going to take this -9 and we're going to put it over here into our table of values under the y heading. And that will be our first coordinate when we decide to plot it. So we're going to solve for the rest of them. I'm just going to draw a line. So now we've got y equals 3.5x minus 2. And this time we're going to take this -1, this x value that we have this time, we're going to slot it in where that x is. So y equals 3.5 times -1 minus 2. And just like we did before, we're going to type it into our calculator just as we see it. 3.5, open bracket, -1, close bracket, minus 2 equals, and we get our answer of -5.5. And we're going to take this answer and we're going to stick it over here into our table of values. So it becomes -5.5. So again, we're going to do the same thing using our same linear relation. We're going to use our substitution skills, but this time we're taking our new x coordinate, 0, and we're going to slide it into where the x is. So y equals 3.5 times 0 minus 2. Type it in exactly as you see it in on your piece of paper there. So 3.5, open bracket, 0, close bracket, minus 2. Hit equals and you'll get your answer, which would be -2. And you're going to take this and you're going to slide it back into your table of values. And then you would continue solving for the next two. I'm going to let you guys solve for those next two on your own, these next two y values, but I'm going to put in the answers anyways just to save time here. So when you're actually calculating, this is what you should get for your rest of your answers for your table of values for the next y coordinates. Just a reminder, you are going to use this table of values for all of the rest of the graphs, numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. you're going to be setting it up the exact same way, putting your X, putting your Y, making your T chart, but you're going to use these X values in your table of values for the rest of them. You have to solve for this part here. Alright, now since we've got everything already solved, we've got all of our X values for each of them, all of our Y values for each of them, we've got our brand new coordinates. So we're going to take these coordinates and we're going to put them onto the graph here. So now you have to really pay attention to where everything is going. This is why we got our little numbers on the graph. So we've got -2, and you always do X first, so -2, -2, and then -9. We go all the way down to -9, and we're going to put our plot right there, our point. Then we've got -1, so we do our X first, -1, and it says -5.5. So it's going to be around here, -5.5. I'm going to put our point in there. Zero, we're not going anywhere on the X coordinates, so this one says -2, so that means we're going to down -2, so this is where we're putting our point here. Our next set of coordinates, 1 and 1.5, so here's 1, and then 1.5, so we're going to be about here on our point, on our graph. And then our last coordinate, 2 and 5, so we do the 2 first, and then we go up 5, and post that on our graph. The one way you can tell if you're doing a linear equation properly is if all of your points, all of your plots that you've put on your graph line up in a straight line. And here we see that, yeah, they look pretty straight, so I've done my table of values correct. I've solved for them correctly. And because we don't know whether this is a continuous piece of information or a discrete piece of information, we're going to assume it's continuous, and that means we're going to join all the lines together. Remember, if it was discrete, we wouldn't join the lines together. You will use a straight edge or ruler in order to join your lines together. I have to freehand it as best as I possibly can. So there is my straight line. Now, one thing that I do want you to be aware of is if you were looking for the slope for this particular line, you wouldn't have to take any 2 points on here. On your graph, you wouldn't have to do that, because when you take a look at your linear equation that's given here, the point that's just in front of the X, the number that's just in front of the X, is your slope. So be aware of that. So I want you to do as best as you possibly can. 3 and 6 may give you a bit of a challenge. Don't freak out if you can't do them. Set them up, and then try 2, 4, and 5. Get those ones accomplished. These have to be done for Thursday, because I'm going to go over them on Thursday. Alright, see you later.